to a huge hour in British politics. Seconds ago, polls slammed shut in the Hamilton by-election in Scotland. But I tell you what, might not sound it, it's really important. Look at these polls, OK? Remarkable. The SNP, they might sneak it by about 1,000 votes, but there's expected to be a very fine line between Labour and Reform. It's fair to say Reform could win it, actually. If Reform even comes second, it will be massive. They barely existed in Scotland until a few months.
You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now. But a mandate like this comes with a great responsibility. Our task is nothing less than renewing the ideas that hold this country together. National renewal. Whoever you are, wherever you started in life, if you work hard, if you play by the rules, this country should give you a fair chance to get on. It should always respect your contribution, and we have to restore that. I don't promise you it will be easy. Changing a country is not like flicking a switch. It's hard work, patient work, determined work, and we will have to get moving immediately.
This is not about fine-tuning Britain's decline. It's a demand to burn the whole system down and rebuild something that actually works. What we're seeing is a popular revolt, and it's sweeping through once untouchable strongholds. Labour heartlands are turning blue and turquoise. Areas that once laughed at the idea of reform are now flying their flag.
They've got a massive majority because the Tories are very unpopular. And in fact, they won, well, just over nearly 33%, but just over 32% percent of the vote, which was the lowest percentage of the vote won by any winning party since the Second World War. It was even lower than what Corbyn got when he was defeated.
That's interesting.
And now they're...
Can we just repeat that? Starmer's Labour Party, that's now in government, got fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn in 2019.
Britain isn't just shifting politically, it's rupturing. The foundations of Westminster are cracking and the shockwaves are spreading from Parliament Square to every forgotten town and council estate across the nation. What we're witnessing isn't a swing in the polls, it's a political quake of historic proportions. Labour has lost its grip. The Tories are being swept into irrelevance. And out of nowhere, without the backing of billionaires, mainstream media or the traditional power structures, Reform UK has surged to the front of the race. Nigel Farage, long treated as a political sideshow, is now the man standing on the edge of number 10. This isn't just a comeback, it's a takeover.
In British politics. Seconds ago, polls slammed shut in the Hamilton by-election in Scotland. But I tell you what, might not sound it, it's really important. Look at these polls, OK? Remarkable. The SNP, they might sneak it by about 1,000 votes, but there's expected to be a very fine line between Labour and Reform. It's fair to say Reform could win it, actually. If Reform even comes second, it will be massive. They barely existed in Scotland until a few months ago. The campaign was spicy.
I think everybody should be treated equally. We object very strongly to the segmentation of people into different types. And I think, to be frank, that Mr Sarwar has a record of obsessing on this issue. There was the famous speech that he gave in the Scottish Parliament saying, why the judiciary white? Why are, these leading figures in Scotland white? A most extraordinary speech, given the statistics and figures here. And actually, I think that speech that he gave was sectarian in its very nature.
Shots fired. Nigel Farage accused Labour's Anna Sarwar of stoking sectarianism. Mr Sarwar hit back.
Bluntly, Nigel
The polls have confirmed what many inside the establishment feared but refused to say out loud. Reform is now projected to win a 74-seat majority. Not a coalition, not a handful of kingmaker seats, a full-blown majority in the House of Commons. Let that settle in. This is a party that didn't exist in its current form just a few years ago. A party born out of public exhaustion, with the same polished promises and empty apologies. A party dismissed by the media and blacklisted by polite society. And yet, today it's dominating the national conversation. This isn't business as usual. This is Britain on the brink of a democratic uprising. A new wave has risen, one that can no longer be ignored, silenced or laughed off, and with every hour, it's gathering strength.
This was a protest vote, wasn't it?
No, this was a very positive vote for Labour. We've been knocking on thousands and thousands of doors, and the message that we've got back is that people know that the Labour Party has changed, they want change in Scotland, and they put their trust in Labour. And I want to thank everybody who voted for Labour yesterday in this by-election. They put their trust in a changed Labour Party, and we will repay that trust. But we accept this victory humbly, knowing that it's a step on the journey towards the next general election.
The fallout is staggering. Labour's top brass, Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, Ed Miliband, have been obliterated from the electoral map. Not sidelined, not edged out. Obliterated. Their seats, once safe zones of red comfort, are now up in smoke. And as for the Conservatives, they've collapsed to a projected 22 seats nationwide. The party of Churchill is now a political side note. Rishi Sunak's leadership is crumbling so quickly that even his allies are distancing themselves before the dust settles. Speculation is already swirling that Kemi Badenoch may inherit what's left of the party, but at this rate she'll be leading a glorified WhatsApp group, not a real opposition. Meanwhile, Suella Braverman's seat is under siege by Reform. Once hailed as the hardline lioness of the right, she now faces a political extinction event. The irony? Reform is stealing her thunder and her votes. There are murmurs she may switch sides before election night. That is, if she's not already too late.
It's unjust what's happened to Diana Abbott, and as a woman of colour, I feel that Keir Starmer has forgotten that he needs the black vote, whether he likes it or not. And I believe that Diana Abbott has been hanged out to dry. I believe that it's just unjust. And I'm actually considering my vote, whether to vote for Labour or to stay at home. We need a Prime Minister who challenges inequality at the root, particularly around criminal justice, employment, health, housing. And I've always heard Keir Starmer hark on about his proud record of being somebody that was head of, the justice system. Well, if that's the case, you can see how Diana Abbott's been treated is appalling. And I believe if he doesn't reinstate Diana Abbott, who did apologise immediately, I believe that he will lose a lot of votes from the black community.
You think so? You think there's actually this issue is costing the Labour Party support from black voters?
Yeah.
But this isn't just about party politics anymore. Reform UK has morphed into something far bigger than Nigel Farage ever hinted at. It's no longer just a party, it's a public reckoning. A revolt built on years of frustration, betrayal, and being ignored by the very institutions meant to represent the people. You don't rack up 362 projected seats by luck. That kind of surge happens when millions of ordinary citizens, taxpayers, workers, veterans, parents, decide they've had enough. Enough of being labelled backwards for wanting secure borders. Enough of being mocked for voting leave. Enough of being called hateful for refusing to play along with identity politics. Nowhere is the shift more brutal than in Wales. Take the example of Michelle Bear, a Reform candidate who just crushed Labour in a ward that used to be considered unwinnable, the kind of place where the party could have run a scarecrow with a red pin and still taken the seat. Not anymore. Labour hemorrhaged over a third of their support. Just gone. Why? Because the people there are done. Done with being cold every winter while energy bills soar. Done with council taxes that rise but never seem to fix anything. Done with politicians who talk about equity and diversity while their own constituents queue at food banks. They're not demanding tweaks or apologies. They want a political clean-out, and now they're getting it. What's remarkable is that this massive political upheaval is being powered by just over 30% of the vote. That's all it takes when momentum is on your side and the opposition is too divided to mount a counterattack. It's not just a win, it's a rout. But here's the part that really has the elites breaking into a sweat. No one knows who these Reform MPs are. They're not polished PR graduates or media darlings with years of studio lighting behind them. These are ordinary people, builders, parents, small business owners, ex-military. They've never sat on a panel show, never traded sound bites on Question Time, and they don't owe anyone in Westminster a thing. That's what terrifies the establishment. Not just that Farage might take power, but that he might bring a wave of new voices into Parliament. People who actually believe in Britain. People who aren't trying to curry favour with Brussels. Who don't check with corporate sponsors before speaking, and who still believe public service means serving the public. It's the opposite of everything the system was built to preserve. No handlers, no spin doctors, no deals with lobbyists in the shadows, just raw, unfiltered change. And that's exactly why this moment feels different. Reform UK isn't just aiming to sit at the table. They're flipping the table over. The usual power brokers are scrambling because they've realised something far worse than losing seats. They've lost control. These new reform candidates aren't polished career politicians. They're not rehearsed. They're not groomed for leadership by think tanks and media training firms. They're real people, and that alone makes them dangerous to the system. Picture a House of Commons filled with veterans who've served, farmers who've struggled, and parents who've actually lived through the crises the establishment only debates in theory. These are individuals who've seen their businesses crushed by policy, their towns gutted by neglect, and their families ignored by the people they voted for. Now they're bringing that frustration, that fire into Parliament, and for once the suits in Westminster won't know how to contain it.
New polling revealed 72% of voters think the UK is going in the wrong direction. Here's everything you need to know in less than 60 seconds. What are the key findings? Well, 75% of voters polled for City AM by Freshwater Strategy also said they weren't confident in the government's plan to achieve economic growth. And just 1 in 6 voters believe Labour is best placed to manage and grow the economy. Voters are also pessimistic about the future, with 55% of people expecting the economy to deteriorate in 2025. What's the reaction been? Matthew Lesh from Freshwater Strategy warned the findings make grim reading for Starmer and indicated frosty attitudes from the British people, while a Labour source insisted the government was getting on with delivering the plan for change, and said this required tough decisions to undo 14 years of Tory chaos and decline. What do you think of the poll findings about the government? Let us know in the comments.
Across the country, the pressure is rising. People are no longer just angry, they're activated. Marches are forming outside constituency offices. Demonstrations are appearing in front of council buildings. And now, according to reports, voters are even gathering near Buckingham Palace. Not out of disrespect for the Crown, but to demand that someone, somewhere, finally listens. This isn't a protest anymore, it's a reckoning. You're watching history unfold, and you won't hear this version of events on mainstream TV. That's why Britain Info exists, to bring you the raw, unfiltered truth that the elites hope you'll never see. If this shook you, share it. Drop a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss what they try to bury next.